Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the recording for the Do-It-Yourself Songwriter series. Anyway, I want to talk to you quickly about recording and music production concepts. I promise we will start recording soon, but this is a primer so that when you start recording, it sounds good immediately, and what you do now will reflect on your mixing, on the way your recording sounds, and it'll reflect on how relaxed you are when you record, etc. In the last video, I was telling you it was very important to have a proper desk, a proper table for you to work, and basically I want to stretch that right now, that your comfort and ambience, they're both very important for you and maybe for a client or maybe for a person that's going to record with you. So this may seem obvious to some people, but it's not to others. So people don't want to come over to your house and record if it smells bad or if everything's out of order, if it's cluttered, and you're not going to be comfortable with the clutteredness, especially like if you're recording in your bedroom or a bedroom that you're using for something else, then you're competing with other stuff, like maybe a closet that has clothes, which that's not necessarily bad as long as it's in order. So you want to be in an area that's comfortable, that makes people feel comfortable, that smells well, that the temperature is good, and you don't want cluttered. So you got to be very, you got to make the people that are coming over to record to your house comfortable. And also you got to make yourself comfortable so you are completely relaxed in creating. Now I want to talk to you about room acoustics. Okay, and this is very, very important, because what you mix in your room that sounds great in your room, you may go to your car or to headphones or somewhere else and it'll sound horrible. And you'll go, why is that? Well, it's because your room has to be tuned. Just like your guitar has to be tuned to sound good, when you're recording and mixing, and most of us do both at the same time, you want to be in a room that's tuned. And what I mean by that, if you see behind me, I have a foam. The idea is that when you hear your speakers, the sound travels to the back wall. I don't want that sound to bounce to me. So when it reaches the wall, it gets diffused and I don't get it back. I actually have foam in the corners, in the back of the speakers, and on the sides. And right now I'm going to show you some diagrams. I'm just going to be playing some diagrams on the screen of different ways that you can tune your room. You don't want to completely kill it, but I mean by that is a lot of people put carpet in the walls. You don't want to kill it. You want to record in an environment that is similar to the environment that that people are gonna be listening to your music. So you wanna record in an environment, you wanna mix in an environment that is kind of universal. But there are things that you need to make sure of. Number one, if you're recording in a bedroom, like a small bedroom, you don't need anything bigger than a 5-inch speaker. Okay, you go to the store, they're gonna try to sell you an 8-inch speaker, a 10-inch speaker. Bigger doesn't mean better. You wanna record and mix in a 5-inch speaker. They are made by Yamaha. There are some great ones made by Genelec. JBL makes good ones. So for instance, the speakers that I use are these Yamahas. They are ported. I use them. I don't recommend ported speakers. Basically, ported means that they have a hole in them, in the box, so that you can it emphasizes the bass. But that can be misleading when you're mixing. You want a speaker that's flat. Now I'm lucky enough to have a pair of Yamaha NS10Ms also, and because I've been recording for 40 years, so they were new when I bought them. The original owner. It's very hard to find now. You can also record in something called the Avantone. These are speakers that are also called the horror tone, because if you make it sound good on that speaker, most likely it's gonna sound good everywhere. The speakers sound horrible, but that's the key, that well, this is beyond the scope of this video. I also have a pair of Genelec speakers. They're small ones. I believe these are like 3-inch speakers. There may be 5, I don't know. But they're pricey, but they're beautiful. They record. You mix very well with them. Now the reason why I have different pairs of speakers, you don't need different pairs of speakers right now. But the reason why I do it is because you want to switch speakers while you're mixing. You also need to get to know your speakers. Now we will talk about mixing more later, but right now I want to talk about the acoustics. You want to mix on a small speaker, and they're called near field monitors, and the reason is because you want to be hearing them near you without the bounce from the walls. Okay, so number one, tuning your room with acoustic foam, curtains, carpet, and that sort of thing. It's a very good way to do it. Auralex makes some acoustic foam. Prime Acoustics makes some acoustic foam. You want to get some bass traps. Now, bass traps are funky because they claim to trap certain bass frequencies that it's just hype. There's no way it traps that frequency because the wavelength of certain frequencies are bigger than your room. So there's no way that a small piece of foam is going to capture that. I mean, it'll tame it. It will not. I personally, I'm going to leave a link on the description of bass traps that I made myself because they were a lot cheaper. The link is going to be to another video where I made them. They go the full length of my wall on each corner, and they're awesome. So watch that video. Another thing I wanted to, so that's very important, your room acoustics. I'm also going to put a link on the description to a report of SOS magazine, Sound on Sound magazine, that talks about different types of acoustic treatment. Now in my book, Recording for the Do-It-Yourself Songwriter, on chapter 3, I have a lot of tips for mixing or preparing to mix, and a lot of tips on room acoustics and tuning your room. So it's not necessary to buy the book. The book's only like $5 at Amazon, and it's also available on Audible as an audiobook. You don't necessarily need to buy it. However, I welcome it if you buy it, and it's not a bad read at all. It has different information that it's in this course. But anyway, enough of the commercial. It wasn't intended as a commercial. So I'll read some tips that will make your life easier. Learn the keyboard shortcuts of your DAW, your recording software. Wherever you're using, learn those shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts. If you're in your mouse all the time, you're gonna waste time. If you're in the computer and you know the shortcuts, you already probably know some universal shortcuts like Command Z is undo. Command A is select all. Those type of shortcuts. Learn the shortcuts that your computer software has. It'll speed your flow a lot. Now, when you're about to record, always be prepared. And make sure that the people that are gonna play with you already show up knowing the songs and prepared to play them. You don't want to waste people's times. Bring everything you need, like make sure you have extra strings. Just make sure that you have everything for your recording. You don't want to stop the flow of a song, of creativity, because you broke a string and you don't have any more strings. Your singers should limit their citrus intake. Citrus produces mucus. That's not your friend. I mean, Erykah Badu used to say that you should eat potato chips because they're greasy and it actually lubricates your voice. Actually, I've tried it. It does work. You can have lozenges too, and they work. If someone is in a bad mood, and this pertains to environment, right? If somebody's in a bad mood in the band, or you're in a bad mood, or tired, or just stop. Do it later. Do it when it'll show up on the recording. Somebody's bad mood and negativity will show up in the recording. Unless you're recording heavy metal, and then if you're upset, then it works. When it comes to mixing, try to mix in a soft level. 85 dBs is a nice level to mix on. You will run into something called ear fatigue if you mix too loud. Louder doesn't mean better. Louder just means louder. You need to mix at a comfortable level and switch from speakers. If you only have a pair of speakers, then switch from your headphones to the speakers, then back to the headphones. Take breaks, especially when you're mixing. Take breaks. This is very important. Every 45 minutes is a good point to switch speakers. And every maybe 2 hours or 3 hours would be a good point to take a break and take a walk, do something, and come back with fresh ears. Because what happens is the mix that you have, that you think it's amazing, you probably already lost perspective. And then the next day when you hear it, you're like, what? So just walk away, take breaks, be patient. You want to get some headphones that are kind of flat. Also, Audio-Technica makes some good ones. They'll run you about $100. You can also mix a little bit in the typical iPhone headphones. Maybe you can even have a cheap speaker, something like an iHome or something that's really cheap, and mix a little bit on that. Try different. Just because you can only afford one good pair of speakers doesn't mean that you can't switch speakers. You can grab a boombox and mix on that for a little bit. I mean, it'll teach you things that I really can't explain on the video, but it'll render you better mixes in the long run. So to recap, treat your room with acoustic foam. Very important. Curtains. Put pretty colors. Make it comfortable. Make the ambience nice. Get or make some decent bass straps for the corners of your room. You don't have to do all the corners, but at least the corners behind your speakers, okay? And never, never, never set up your studio on a corner. If you see the diagrams that I've been showing you on how to set up a studio, your computer and your speakers should be in the middle of the wall, a little separated by the wall if you have the room. You should be maybe 1/3 in the middle of the room, not right in the middle, but 1/3. and then the other 2/3 should carry behind you. If you set up in the corner, it's going to amplify your bass, and it's going to be a false bass response. You want to be in the middle, just like the diagram shows you. Also treat your ceiling. I have a cloud of acoustic foam because the sound travels and I don't want it to bounce back to me from above. You want to diffuse that sound, which mixing around 85 dBs will help also. And there are apps that will measure, iPhone apps or Android apps that will measure the decibels that you're listening to. You want to concentrate, especially if you're singing, you want to concentrate on your mids. That's the hardest thing to mix. Everybody can like go really low or really high, but the mids need to be, that's the frequency that our ears pick up the most, and you don't want to make it annoying. That's where the avant tone come in. They're very mid-rangey, and if you EQ on that, your vocals and stuff, they're gonna pretty much sound pretty good around. Also, compare your mixes, your levels, and your recordings to others' recordings that you want to sound like or that you think that you like. Everybody's after a certain sound, and just compare that and try to copy it. If your DAW, your recording software, offers automation, learn how to use it, because it's a lot of people, a lot of engineers, instead of compressors, especially in the vocals, they'll use automation to tame certain loudness in the performances. Some of the music you've been listening to during this thing is my music. Please, you can check more of it at eddie-g.com. That's eddie-g.com. Also, if you want to buy the book, it's available on Amazon and on Audible. It's called Recording for the DYS Songwriter. And happy recording. Next video, we'll start recording. Thanks.